will never tell anybody to leave, but I will tell you to plan, because in your planning, you will know when to leave. You will have everything lined up so that when you leave, you will not return. And that is the object of leaving an abusive relationship, is to plan. This is an emotional job, and it takes special people to do this work. And you're all special people, and you need to take care of yourself.
You may be the only person that has asked, how can I help you? Instead of, you need to leave, I don't know why you're still there, you picked her, I don't see what's the problem, you've been there that long, you and your children need to leave. You sound just like an abuser.
I am honored to welcome Mildred Muhammad, and she is not only a domestic abuse survivor, she is the author of Scared Silent, and she works so much to try to get the truth about domestic violence out there. Take us back, Mildred, to the moment when you found out that your ex-husband, who you had 3 children with, was arrested as the D.C. sniper, a serial killer.
Create liaisons with other organizations and people who have resources that I could use to help other women.
Thank you for coming to the Mildred Muhammad Show. Today we are going to talk politics. And today, not only do I have a special guest, but he is a sponsor of my show, and I am so grateful that he has come to share who he is and what his intentions are for Prince George's County. I'd like to introduce you to Mr. Paul Monteiro. How are you, Paul?
I'm doing well. Thank you very much for having me on the program.
Well, thank you, number one, for sponsoring the show and for being here with us today. So what I would like to do is just start right into the conversation where we're going to talk about what you will do for Prince George's County. But before we get to that, could you please explain to the audience who you are and why you are in this race?
Sure. So I'm the second of 5 kids born to teenage parents. They met at McDonald's, had a bunch of kids, and not a lot of money. And so growing up around here, we were blessed to be in a place like Prince George's County that had a public school system that was, creating real opportunity for, me and my siblings, that had, supports in terms of if you run out of food, if you run out of, different necessities, you can get access to things around here.
So the resources were really available to everyone.
Yeah, between the government, the local government, and the nonprofit community, and then the faith-based organizations, where in other parts of the country, you might be short.
Right,
And so this was actually a very affirming place that, looked out for people that might need a little bit of help.
Okay.
So coming up through the public school system, Adelphi Elementary,
I was
Buck
just
Lodge
about to
Middle,
ask you, what
High Point High
schools?
School. Yeah,
Okay.
those are my 3 schools. It's funny, all my schools are on the same road. Riggs Road from Adelphi.
Right there.
Straight down. And then I went to college at University of Maryland,
Okay.
which is right around the corner.
Right around the corner.
And that's a big reason I went to Maryland, because I could see it. You know,
Okay.
I remember on kindergarten, you would take the school bus and the route would go around the University of Maryland. So it was the college you could see.
Okay.
I remember being a dumb little kid and thinking, because it had a tennis bubble,
Okay.
and I remember thinking it was Epcot Center from Disney.
Right.
It was a big golf ball.
Right.
But as a kid, as a kindergartner,
Well,
I thought that's what it was.
That's
you
what
know?
it was. Well, for you, that's what it was.
Yeah, and there's like research to show, you know, especially when you take a young person and put them on a college campus for a tour or what have you, they're more likely to go to college because you
college, right.
demystify it. And so I don't think it's a coincidence. I went to the college that I could see that was visual and realistic,
Right.
in the sense of it's a real place. It's not a foreign planet.
Okay.
I could be there too. But yeah, I'm very much a local. Yeah.
Okay. And so once you graduated from college, University of Maryland, then where did you go?
So I wanted to go to law school,
Okay.
but I was broke. So I worked for a couple years as a paralegal at a law firm in D.C. And it was the best education I could have received for law school because I learned by doing.
Right.
And paralegals, they shadow lawyers.
And they do a lot of
do a lot of
research.
research for the lawyer. It's almost like an apprenticeship because the lawyer explains this is why we're doing what we're doing. This is why it has to be done this way in this time. And so 2 years of that led to me going to Howard University for law school.
Okay.
And it was a great preparation having that the couple years of being a paralegal to then dive into law school at Howard.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then once you graduated from Howard, then you went on to.
So I took a job at a law firm in D.C.
Okay.
And I was there for like 30 seconds. And
30
then this
seconds.
guy named Barack Obama messed me
Uh-oh.
up. Yeah. So this was 2006. So everyone knew who he was, and
Right.
this guy's going places. He was the only black senator at the time.
Okay.
And I figured, I want to be a D.C. lawyer with juice.
Gotcha.
And if you want to be a D.C. lawyer with juice, you have to have some connections on the Hill.
Right.
So I started looking to see who I could, maybe intern for on Capitol Hill. And, again, he was the one to watch.
Right.
Paul Sarbanes was retiring that year,
Okay.
so I couldn't work for him. And Barbara Mikulski was someone I looked at as well. So I applied to Obama and Mikulski. And I said, I'm going to pray and fast until somebody calls me back.
Pray and fast. That's
because you know how the Hill works. They only hire people, they often hire people
Okay.
that are connected.
True.
Your dad is a senator. Your mom is a governor.
Right.
Your
It's
parents are donors.
lifelong connections.
Yeah, you have
Right.
the connections, and I didn't have any of that because my parents weren't very active in the political scene. So I said that's the only way I'm going to get it, and especially on the Obama piece, everyone's trying to work for him.
Right.
So it was a long line. And after a couple months of doing it, the week I was going to stop, that's when the
when
call
they
came.
called
That's
you.
when the call came because I was hungry. And I was like, this is not worth it. I'm wasting my time. And that's when the call came. And that led to what I thought was, a short-term thing. That was the last 12 years of my life right there.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
So now you've come home,
Mm-hmm.
right? And you decided, I want to get in this race for county executive.
Mm-hmm.
What was your motivation?
Well, so one caveat, I was always home. Other than a year in Chicago working on his campaign for president, I've lived in Hyattsville.
Okay.
And I think that's something important for people to know because, a lot of folks have no clue who in the heck Paul Monteiro is.
True.
And now they're starting to see posters of me running for county executive, and they may be an idea that I just moved here to run.
Right.
I'm like, and I'm
Because a lot of candidates do that. As long as they're in a county
And people
for
don't like
6
that.
months at a time,
Yeah.
then they can register to vote.
Yeah.
Register for office,
Mhm.
campaign,
Yeah.
win the election, and then that's how they get in.
Yeah, so I'm not
not
knocking
that.
anybody else. I didn't do that. My pathway was I'm from here. I'm very much rooted here.
Okay.
So in terms of why I'm running for county executive, the last many years, because I was blessed to work for Barack Obama, went to his campaign. Once he won, went to his White House staff for 5 years, leading our engagement of religious organizations, anti-poverty nonprofits, Arab Americans, and running the mentorship program for young men. it ultimately became a part of the My Brother's Keeper initiative to deal with just the crisis you see with life outcomes for black and brown men and boys.
Okay.
And then he appointed me to head of AmeriCorps Vista, the Domestic Peace Corps. So this is a program with a budget of almost $100 million, and we fund nonprofits to help them grow, because a lot of nonprofits do good work, but they have a staff of 2 and a budget of $5,000, so they hit a wall pretty fast. And we help them scale up by saying, maybe let's get you a grant writer, maybe let's get you a volunteer recruiter, so you're not fully dependent on the 2 staff that you do have to do every job.
Okay.
So it was a great way to see the best of the country in terms of really creative innovations to deal with common problems, because, you know, Prince George's County is unique, but the challenges we face are not unique.
Right.
You're dealing with lack of affordable housing. You're dealing with drug abuse. You're dealing with how to successfully reintegrate returning citizens. You're dealing with domestic violence. You're dealing with immigration issues in terms of a lot of people living in the shadows, even more now because of what the Trump administration is doing.
Correct.
So they're common problems, and I'm seeing around the country, both from the White House and AmeriCorps Vista, they came up with some pretty creative ways to support the community, not always by throwing money at it either, but by aligning resources, by creating partnerships. And in the last year of the administration, he appointed me the head of the mediation program at the Justice Department. The Justice Department has a program called the Community Relations Service, where you have tension based on race, color, national origin, religion, disability, sexual orientation, gender identity.
That covers everybody.
It's a lot of tension.
No one was going to be left out.
Yeah, it was pretty. Our mandate was initially from the Civil Rights Act of 1964, race, color, national origin. And then in 2009, President Obama signed the Shepard-Byrd Hate Crimes Prevention Act, named after Matthew Shepard, the man lynched for his sexual orientation out west, and James Byrd Jr., the black man dragged to death by white supremacists in Texas. So that expanded our mandate to include, you know, religion, disability, sexual orientation, and to try to prevent hate crimes, because you see the very disturbing trend of increasing violence toward people based on those categories. So we would try to prevent hate crimes through education, cultural competency training for a police department, a school system, a community that's now home to a large number of refugees from the Middle East that they have some feelings about and maybe some concerns, to try to, you know, focus on building community. So all those experiences, not because I'm brilliant, not because I'm a hard worker, but because God blessed me to have these experiences. Okay, the Obama administration's over. Now I'm looking at where can I serve. President Obama specifically said to us at the end of it, it's not over, and I expect you to get involved in your communities. Don't go sit out or just focus on making dollars. We still have an obligation to help and pitch in where we can. So I was already looking at where can I get involved. And I look back at the experiences I've been blessed to have at 37, which, you know, I think a lot of 37-year-olds don't have those experiences. And I'm trying to figure out, how do I best leverage being an executive of 2 federal programs and serving on the White House staff for 5 years, seeing the country, and what's the position where you can cast a vision, and that's county executive. So I looked at the skill set I have, the job requirements, and I decided after prayer and fasting, because I didn't want to waste time on a big ego trip. Do I really think I can add something to this job? Do I really have a vision for this county that would be useful in 2018? And once I got my confirmation, we announced last year. Yeah.
Okay. Well, what we're going to do is take a break,
Okay.
2 to 3 minutes, and when we come back, we're going to dive deep into all of the other issues that are plaguing Prince George's County, and hope that you can give us a solution to how you will handle those. So we'll see you on the other side of the commercial, and thank you again for tuning in to the Mildred Muhammad Show.
It's the new, all-natural, family-friendly pharmacy, Family Choice Pharmacy, located at 8313 Annapolis Road, New Carrollton, Maryland. Family Choice offers alternative medicines as well as discount programs you can easily enjoy. Come be a part of our family at Family Choice Pharmacy, as every family should know their pharmacist. If you're looking to join the family today, you can reach us at 301-577-1212 at Family Choice Pharmacy.
If you like to roller skate, you will love Lanham Skate Center. We offer all kinds of specials, birthday parties, skate classes, and more. You can even reserve the rink for a special event. Skate rentals only $3, so roll on over to Lanham Skate Center today. Located at 9901 Lanham Severn Road in Lanham, Maryland. For more information about our weekly schedule, visit us on the web at lanhamskatecenter.com or call for more information at 301-577-1733. That's 301-577-1733.
Welcome back to the Mildred Muhammad Show. You heard earlier Mr. Monteiro explain to you who he is and what his motivation is for wanting to be in the race for county executive. So now we're going to get into the meat and potatoes of what your platform is. So why don't you explain to us what is your platform?
Sure. So it's 4 parts, and the first is education. As a product of the public schools, and because the public schools are basically 60% of our budget, it's a $2 billion public school system. We have to get serious about a couple of things. One, the infrastructure issues.
Right.
The building I went to in high school, High Point, was built in 1954. There's just so many county buildings that are more than 50 years old, which presents often health challenges. There's a reason the water's brown.
Right.
I remember, and I was talking about running out of paper at Adelphi Elementary School in 1990. The school ran out of paper, and they would send letters home asking the parents to donate paper.
Is that when they started with the parents supplying the school supplies for the school, since the teachers really have to go into their own pockets in order to get those supplies for the students?
That's right. And there's a study out yesterday that shows, and this happens around the country because we don't pay teachers enough money. You have almost 90% of teachers on some level paying an average of $400 something of their own money to buy school supplies.
And they never get that money back.
No. The legislature just passed a bill that reimburses up to $250, but we know from the data they're spending closer to $500 of their own money. But it's a good start, Okay. So education has to be the number one thing. Dealing with infrastructure, but also saying college isn't everything. As a country, we've made this mistake and said college, college, college. So if you're not going to college, in 8th grade you don't want to go to college.
Right.
There's a reason you might not hang around. And we need to dramatically expand the pathways into careers. Really, I talk about 5 pathways. College if you want it, but also vocational. You could talk about traditional vocational, HVAC. My dad's a roofer, my brother's a plumber. They make good money. But also white-collar vocational, if you want to call it that. Cybersecurity, nanotechnology, health sciences. You look at the pathways we have in the public school system, because Prince George County has a bunch of these career tracks, but look at how many seats they have. The Health Science Academy, for example, has 425 seats in a school system of 130-something thousand people. So you have to win the lottery to get in that program. They're great programs, but they're very small. And I think the argument is, well, we don't have money to expand them. And my argument is we don't have money not to expand them, because if you, quote unquote, graduate these young people into a job market where they can't compete, them working a minimum wage job in this area, you can't survive. You have to work a couple of those jobs to survive in this very expensive county. So that's education. Economic development has to be the second part of the platform, because the county faces a structural deficit. In terms of money going out is greater than money we're bringing in.
Okay.
And you can't, because the way our budget is set up, we're overly dependent on residential taxes. That's why your houses are taxed so much.
Okay.
Because you're talking about 70% of our budget is dependent on property taxes. It shouldn't even be that high. Montgomery County has it closer to like 30%.
So what is Prince George's County?
So we're close to 70% of our budget is dependent on property taxes. But there's no more runway. We've taxed as much as we can. And so you can't tax your way out of the structural deficit. The only way out of it is to say, getting more businesses to set up shop in Prince George's County. Okay. And the phraseology people use is expand the commercial tax base, because you want to have a bigger pie of businesses coming here, because they generate money and use fewer services because they're businesses. They close, they have business hours, they're open and close. And so expanding more businesses, that has to be the solution. So with my platform in the schools, it has to be, again, college if you want it, vocational track to get you a job, but also a third track is start your own business. Because we have amazing entrepreneurs and the future entrepreneurs that are students today. And it would be great to start as early as middle school saying, listen, you don't want to go to college? That's fine. Doesn't mean you're any less intelligent. You just want to do something else. We need to encourage you in that pathway, get you some mentoring, show you a business plan, and work with you over the course of your educational career. So here's your diploma, but also you're graduating with a business plan that's been vetted, maybe connected with some mentors, so you're able to start your own business in Prince George's County and ultimately grow it, create jobs, and build wealth.
Well, there are some children that start businesses in the 6th grade.
Yeah, and we need to nurture that. We need to nurture that, absolutely. Because again, the structural deficit this county faces, we need every business to say, I want to either start here or I want to move here. And we can't overlook our own.
No, we can't.
So economic development's the second part. Restorative justice is the third part. And that's something I focused on when I was at the Justice Department. What you have, I mean, Prince George's County unfortunately leads the state in the number of students we arrest in public school.
So that's that pipeline from school to jail.
Yeah, because now, something went sideways in school, police were called, you were arrested, now you have a record.
Right.
I mean, you start to limit people's options very early. And so restorative justice is about a set of policies and practices that say, how do we hold you accountable? You're acting in a way that's not acceptable, what have you, but the criminal justice system should not be the tool to fix it.
So
it
when
means
did
diversion.
that start? Because I remember when I was in school, the police were never called.
Yeah.
Right? You had detention. You had other systems in place to help the child to structure themselves into being back on point. So why, or do you know why, it has gone to the police being called into situations that don't require a criminal?
I think it's a trend that you've seen over decades, right? And it tracked with the increase, an enforcement with war on drugs type policies, but the way that law enforcement has been the cure-all.
Okay.
And you end up criminalizing people for being poor. That's the story of Ferguson, but that's another show.
That's another show.
But you look at what happened in Ferguson.
And you'll be back for another show.
Oh, okay,
so we
great.
May discuss
it's
it
like,
on there. So.
Well, when you don't have enough money as a government, so how are we going to make up this deficit? I know. We use the police department you have to write so many tickets to make up that amount of money.
Right.
And so you start using, it's the criminalization of poverty, and it's a criminalization of students, because you have almost like baby jail. Right. And you start using police, putting them in the public school. Sometimes they're called school resource officers. I mean, and there's data that shows that doesn't make the school safer. And it actually presents its own set of risks. Armed officers in public schools. Right. So restorative justice is about diverting young people early. Again, not so that they escape accountability, right? But it's like we have other practices through dialogue, through strict, punishments. But you don't use police to get a point across unless absolutely necessary. Somebody's presenting a danger to the school's body or themselves. So restorative justice also means on the back end for an adult who's made a mistake. I'm not talking about hug a thug either. Once somebody's made a mistake and paid their debt to society for it, welcome back.
Okay, so what's hug a thug?
Well, I think I say that like half jokingly, just because sometimes when you talk about restorative justice, folks say you're coddling criminals.
Okay.
Or you're letting people off on being accountable, and they need to be accountable because they won't learn the lesson.
Okay.
I'm not talking about people that haven't paid their debt to society, whether it was a fine they had to pay or time they had to do. I'm saying once they've done it. So what's next?
Right.
Because unless you're going to say you're just permanently a second-class citizen, which is what some jurisdictions do. They basically write them off and say, I'm not going to hire you. They don't explicitly say, but by their policies they say, I'm not going to hire you. I don't want you around my kids. Don't want you in my neighborhood. I won't rent to you.
Right.
And so you have a universe of people that are basically walking around, every door's closed to them, and I'm not excusing bad behavior, but that's a part of the reason people reoffend. Right. There's no other way to make money, and they shouldn't be making money that way, but that's why you see the recidivism so high. So restorative justice means for an adult, once you've been accountable, we're going to build a pathway for you to reintegrate into your community.
Okay.
And that means helping you with mentoring, finding employment, reconnecting with your family as you're able,
Mental health issues.
and mental health issues, and again, you're part of the community, because the minute you say, "Nah, you're not. You're over on the side. You're not part of this."
Right.
That's a dangerous proposition for everybody, and it's not right. So restorative justice means these
Bringing
types of
people
things.
included in society instead of excluding them because of something they
A
have
past
no
mistake.
control
Yeah,
over.
and,
Right.
and again, people make mistakes. Once you've paid for your mistake, it's in everyone's interest to get you reintegrated and be a returning citizen. So and get you housing. That's a big challenge. It's like, I can't even find a place to live.
Right.
So how am I going to find a job? What address do I
Exactly.
put on my application? So restorative justice, and the last part of the platform is what we call a culture of stewardship. Growing up here in Prince George's County, seeing the public schools, level of service of county services being missing in action,
Yes.
or being there because you're connected and have the hookup. You can't run this county that way.
can't.
And again, going back to the piece of like property taxes, people are taxed at a very high level in this county.
Right. You say 70%. That's a lot.
Well, that's the percentage of our budget that's
Taxes.
dependent on property taxes.
Okay.
But yes, very high property taxes, higher than most jurisdictions around here. Like, these services aren't favors the county does for you. You're paying for services. When you call 311, the county hotline, to get a service, people should pick up the phone. When we run into a lot of people that are trying to start their small business. They have financing from the bank. The county won't get back to them. And so you're about to lose the financing from the bank because the county won't call you back. Or you show up to a county office and, folks are not demonstrating a culture of customer service. I'll say that.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
I
So,
do.
and that's been a pretty consistent problem in this county. And you need to get to a place of reminding every person, you work for the people of Prince George's County.
Right.
And if you can't be about that, maybe you should work somewhere else. Because, again, people are paying a pretty penny for these services.
Right.
Yeah.
And so they should be able to feel welcomed when they're coming to them for help.
And
'Cause we all wanna
responded
have
to.
that,
I
right,
mean,
and be treated with
I
dignity as
emailed
well.
you about this months
Months
ago.
ago,
Can you at
and
least? I mean, we've run
cannot.
into so many people that say, I stopped bidding on county work because I would bid. It's a lot of work to put a bid together and
It
say,
is. It's a lot of
you
work.
won't, and you won't even hear no. You just don't hear anything.
So is that a process that if you don't hear from me, then you didn't get it? Because you know how they say no news is good news, right? But
Yeah, but with
how do I know?
contracting issues, there's a pretty set way to do things,
Mm-hmm.
and you owe a response to someone who has submitted a formal bid.
So how will you change that?
Well, a couple of things. I think it starts with appointing a chief procurement officer.
Okay.
This is the richest black county in America. DeKalb County, Georgia is number 2. So we have a lot of money in this system, but we run it in a way that's not a level playing field, in the sense of, it seems weird that company always seems to get the business.
Right.
It seems weird that company never gets, even though I know they're a good company, they can compete well, they're a good value to the taxpayer. It's not a level playing field. So you need to set a chief procurement officer to look at how all these divisions are spending money. Because we currently have an Office of Central Services. And a lot of key critical functions are housed there. But clearly, based on outcomes, we're seeing just incredible delays, a whiff of favoritism. And to me, I mean, I'm not going to, dance around the issue, a sense of, there's certain types of people we don't want your business.
Right. Well, the tagline for my show is let's deal with what's real.
Yeah.
Because you can't sugarcoat politics. We have to deal with the issues where they are, so people will have a clear view of what it is you intend to do to change what's not right.
Yeah.
And that's what you are saying.
And we need accountability.
And we need accountability.
Accountability is going to be, that's the saying, sunlight is the best disinfectant. When people don't know how their money is being spent, when people don't know why that contractor or company got the county business, even though their performance is not very good, or they've just been getting business for 3 decades. I mean, they just always seem to win. That favoritism is something that discourages businesses from coming here.
Right.
Because they say, well, I have to either know somebody to take care of me, or it's not worth it. I'm not even gonna, because I can go over here and at least be on a level playing field and compete with other businesses. many of our immigrant brothers and sisters that are in the business of providing, services, at least in their telling, their view is that, I'm not so much welcome here because I'm not the right type of person.
Right.
And to me, again,
That's
this is public money. So it should go, I don't care if you're purple, if you present the best value to the taxpayers of this county, you should get the business. And we're going to hold you accountable. I mean, that's another challenge you see. The county gives out a lot in terms of grants for critical social services. But look at how much we monitor them. When giving you a grant to do, take care of folks that may need mental health services or may need help transitioning, from one situation to another. How much do we monitor the spending of are you actually doing the job well? Are you actually delivering the services? What's the client satisfaction look like?
So are we monitoring?
It's light. It's light.
Light
It's light. And I saw it from my time as the head of AmeriCorps. Our grant cycle was about 3 years. So, and we had an inspector general to keep us honest. Okay. You want a third party looking at, how are you spending these dollars? And they would zero in on like grant programs that were in the game longer than 3 years. I was like, if we're given 3 years, why you been in the game 12 years?
Right.
And they would look at those, and those are the ones you really have to monitor closely because, over time, things get comfortable. Right. Things get, and again, there's a whole world of other people that would love that business. So why would you just kind of keep going along? You have to have a level playing field to compete and have an inspector general to look and see like how are these monies being distributed and spent? Are the clients satisfied? Are the services being delivered or not? So it's accountability. Okay. Same with the school system. The school system is now a $2 billion enterprise. Again, it's the biggest part of our budget. And there's no inspector general. There should be. There should be. Because, we have a superintendent, a past superintendent, who's still in jail because he was steering contracts to his living girlfriend and he got caught. Wow. And I'm not knocking one guy. I'm just saying when there's no structure for accountability, things can get loose and things can get comfortable and personal relationships can come into play more than they should. If it was your personal money, spend it however you want. Right. But this is public money. And you see this dynamic in the surrounding counties. People, they get taxed everywhere, but folks say, I see where my tax money goes when I drive down the street or go to this facility or this public facility or use these services. In Prince George's County, depending on what part of the county you're in, you look around, it's like, oh, where'd my money go? I don't even know what I'm paying for.
Okay. Well, we're going to take another break. And when we come back, we're going to talk about second chances.
All right.
And some other issues. But thank you for explaining to us your platform. And we will be back in 2 minutes.
All right.
Have you been looking for a new car? Godwin Motors has got you covered. Check out their credit stimulus package sales event. 100% credit approval regardless of credit and emergency lenders on hand. Godwin Motors is located at 9071 Lanham Severn Road in Lanham, Maryland, 20706. Log on to their website at www.godwinmotorsonline.com or call 301-577-0400. That's 301-577-0400. That's Godwin Motors. And let them know you heard about them on WBGRsports.com.
Times are hard for many people in America today, but change can begin when you take action for yourself. Help is here. Log on to mymoneymyfreedom.com and get connected with a proven recession-proof company that has been helping people find financial freedom for nearly a decade. Whether you're looking to supplement or replace your income, they can help. They're a company with a AAA rating from the Better Business Bureau, and they do business in over 40 countries. Log on to mymoneymyfreedom.com. No selling soap, perfume, or makeup to your family and friends. No cold calling or knocking on doors for customers. They bring the customers right to you. The first step is yours. Take action now. Log on to mymoneymyfreedom.com. Their team of professionals are ready to help you succeed. Don't wait. Take action now. Start improving your financial future and put the passion back in your life. Log on to mymoneymyfreedom.com. That's mymoneymyfreedom.com. Take action now.
Thank you for returning to the Mildred Muhammad Show. And again, we have Paul Monteiro. He's running for county executive of Prince George's County. What I would like to talk about now are second chances. So what is that? And who are the second chances for?
Well, when we talk about restorative justice, I'm talking very much about second chances for our young people, but also for adults of any age who've made mistakes.
Also for offenders who are getting out of jail. And
returning citizens. They paid their debt to society, and they should be welcomed back into community. And so with young people, again, I think because you've seen the criminalization of student discipline issues, even at a time where there's data to show disparities in school discipline start as early as preschool. You see black students penalized more harshly for the same offense. Talking in class, these little kids. But the trend starts as early as preschool, kindergarten. There was an article just 2 weeks ago in the Post that showed how dress codes dramatically more enforced and harshly against black and brown girls. Women in particular, and so it's the hypersexualization of the black woman, and they apply these dress code policies more harshly on black and brown women, and so that's why you have to be careful about using school discipline, and using police as school discipline. That's a problem, and again, people make mistakes. I made mistakes as a kid coming up through the school system that had to be corrected, but there have to be processes that preserve that child's ability to have a life. And what that means is, again, once you have a record, it really impacts your employability. Once you have been segregated from the class as a whole, that impacts your ability to even have a regular and full experience in the public school system. It trains you to be ostracized or to be seen as different. It's very much the way it tracks adult jail. It's like that seems like solitary. And so there are restorative justice practices, again, that make it clear certain behaviors are not tolerated, will not be allowed to go on, but there has to be restoration to the person you harmed, and you need to take ownership of what you did wrong and commit to not doing it again. We're going to hold you accountable for it too. And for the adult, again, as you paid your debt to society with your housing, with your employment, with mentoring, because it's a lonely road.
It is
as you're transitioning back in. It'd be good to be linked up with people that have walked the road before you got there. That's one of my favorite things when I was the head of AmeriCorps. We built programs, mentorship programs for returning citizens using returning citizens. And that took some doing, because we're a federal program. We have strict criminal background checks. And so a lot of people who wanted to serve in our program had a record, couldn't get in. And we negotiated a framework where, because again, the best mentor for a returning citizen is a returning citizen. Because you have a record, that's why you're the best mentor. And so we're going to negotiate that to make sure you're not being a danger to, if there's kids in the nonprofit or seniors around. You put in the right guardrails, but restorative justice, because at the end of the day, when you want to talk about public safety, we're all safer when that person, that returning citizen, can earn a living for themselves and provide for their family.
So the issues that are close to my heart is domestic violence. Domestic violence, child abuse. And what I don't understand is, why are the resources in Prince George's County dumped into 211, and then 211 is not promoted in order for victims of domestic violence to know that's where they need to go in order to get the help that they need. Then when you dial 211, you're given a number, and then when you call that number, it may be a recording or someone may not answer the phone. The next step to that would be to call the 1-800-799-SAFE, which is in Texas.
And you have none but time to make all these calls, right?
That's all I have to do.
None but time,
I'm getting beaten, and maybe shot
Yeah, they're gonna
my
hold
child,
off while you
so they're going to wait till I
dial.
call Texas, and then I call that number. They're going to give me a number back in Prince George's County. So I have to jump through all of these hoops to get help. How can you simplify that for a victim of domestic violence?
Yeah, and I think there are other jurisdictions that do, right? It's not like going
Right.
to the moon.
It's not.
It's
But
looking
it's
at, and that's
so
where I
hard.
feel like my national experience helps me, because I've seen it done in other places, and just ask the question, in the richest black county in America, why haven't we figured that out? Because it's not a money thing either, right? I think
it's a priority thing.
I think that's exactly right. And again, we should do that anyway, because I think to be the richest black majority county in America, that's a special responsibility we have to set models for the rest of the country to copy.
Right.
But also, we lead the state in domestic violence cases. So that's the top of the list. Nobody wants to be at the top of. We're at the top of it.
We are.
And the one shelter we have, in this county of almost 1 million people, has been in the news for not awesome reasons.
Right.
Yeah, you know. So I'm not
agree.
sugarcoating. I'm just saying, like,
No,
people
don't
can Google
sugarcoat.
it. They know what it is that one shelter, and that wasn't the first time it was in the news, right? You know, they have overcrowding, mold, spoiled food. You have these women and children coming out of a DV situation,
Right.
and now put re-traumatized in a poorly run shelter, and then almost re-victimized in a sense of, well, we'll put you in a hotel. Is there any police around here? You know, there's probably somebody looking for you that doesn't have good intentions. And so we'll relocate you, but what is there, can we have some presence? Because, you know, with the shelter, they don't advertise the location.
Can't.
On purpose, right?
Correct.
So now we're putting you in a hotel, which is not a secluded location. You know, it's like we don't do these basic things well, and the most vulnerable among us pay the cost. And the fact of 211 with this domestic violence, good luck calling 311 for any county services, bulk trash collection, dead tree about to fall on your power line. You know, it's that sad refrain that you hear in this county of, it's like silly season. I'm running around chasing the maze to find the answer.
Right.
I don't have time. I don't have resources. I need help.
Need help.
And so I'm really trying to offer myself as someone who says, I'm not running as Mr. Fix It. I'm running as Mr. I seen that over there. Let's just do what they do right here, right now, because people need help yesterday. And I think people deserve a county government that works for them.
And that will make this issue a priority.
Yeah.
Because women and children are dying every day. 80% of victims don't have physical scars. So now you have some organizations, not just here in Prince George's County, but in other counties, that are turning victims away because they don't have physical scars to prove that they are victims. So that's a whole nother element to bring to resources that women need.
Yeah.
And men are victims too. So we don't want to leave anybody out. So we have to make sure we take care of the victim, the survivor, and the abuser, and the silent victims who are the children, because they are suffering too. So when you are coming into the county executive position, and I'm sure you have looked at the full spectrum of from A to Z of what those duties are, and how your experience will help to bring about the Prince George's County that you envision. Some people may look at you and say, well, you're too young to do this, you know.
Yeah.
So what do you say to them?
I say to them, I'm old enough to do it, and look at my record. And my record in the sense of I've run 2 large federal programs where we had, again, I tried to build a culture of customer service every place I work, because we work for taxpayers. And where I had people that couldn't get with that mission, I learned and made a decision and saw it through in the sense of, if you can't get with the mission, you should work somewhere else. And it's better to fight it out in court with that person. Because if they're a part of the organization, coming in at 10, leaving at 3, 2-hour lunch, not calling anybody back, people waiting on them, everybody knows it.
Right.
Everybody knows who that person is. I'm not going to name that person because I've been using a name, but I'm going to run into somebody named that, so I'm not going to. But everybody knows, because I had offices around the country. I would visit you'd be able to quickly see who's playing and who's working. And so everybody knows who's not working, and they know you know. And I'd made the decision early, you know, relatively young director. I've been through this experience before. People saying, that guy's in charge? Like, that guy, he looks 12. Like, so I made a decision early. They can think what they want, but I want them to know I don't tolerate people that are playing on company time and not delivering people the services that they pay for. So, no, we went through the painful process of holding people accountable. But once you remove low performers from the organization, you see how the organization blossoms. Because a lot of people there were about business.
Right.
But their morale suffers because it's like, I came here to work, but so-and-so's playing, I'm doing half so-and-so's job, I'm not getting half so-and-so's check. But now, look, they're holding people accountable, and that's what I came here to do. Now we can focus on this mission. Or the people that were playing with so-and-so, they tighten up too. Because it's like, oh, well, I saw my road dog so-and-so's not here anymore. I don't want to be the next one to roll out of here, so let me get back to work. Whatever you can do to, again, this isn't playtime. People need these services, and most importantly, they pay for them. So we need to build, and I've lived here 37 years. Well, 36 of the 37 years of my life, right? So it's like, but I've seen the movie of just the way we've come to expect a second-class level of customer service here. Oh, that's just how Prince George. No, it's not. You can't accept that.
Can't.
Yeah.
So, what should the citizens of Prince George's County expect from your leadership? What makes you different than others?
So, I think I represent some constructive disruption. Okay. I'm from here. I'm rooted here. I love this place. I know this place because I grew up here. I saw from the public schools and just living here. We cannot do same old as we normally do in Prince George's County because it's not a same old year. And what I mean by that is you got War on Drugs Part 2. It's back.
It's back.
They didn't even bother to change the name. The War on Drugs, Department of Justice, everything from weed to other things, the hammer of law enforcement coming at you. A set of policies that we know results in the warehousing of poor people and black and brown people. So that's back. You got Trump in his infinite wisdom has now canceled temporary protected status for Hondurans, Haitians, Salvadorans, and Liberians. So now next year, these people that have been able to stay in this country because conditions in their home country are not good, Trump is now saying they're good enough. You go back. Many of these people have been here for 10 plus years. Right. So next year, we can't legally hire them. The small business they own, you're not here legally. The home you own, you're not here legally. So you have this storm coming on, and these are our neighbors. They've done everything right. So you got that coming too. Again, the structural deficit I talked about where we are in a financial hole and we can't tax your house more to get out of it. Because that's what we usually do. That trick is over. So where's that money going to come from? And again, you have to convince businesses to say, I trust Prince George County to treat me fairly. After decades of many people feeling like I don't. Right. I feel like the people that have the hookup are going to get hooked up. And I'll go to D.C. or I'll go to Anne Arundel to set up my business because at least it's a level playing field there. So I offer constructive disruption, not to be destructive about it. I'm just saying holding people accountable, putting the way county money is spent online, making sure people are performing, and have the competence to do the job they're hired for. I didn't hire you because you were my donor. I didn't hire you because some important person told me to. I hired you because you have the skills to do the job and you have the heart to treat it with integrity, and that's what people deserve. And many, I think, of the, people have asked me why I'm running and what makes me different from other people. Again, I've had the experience of seeing the rest of the country stealing ideas along the way and asking, again, we have the same problems, Seattle, St. Louis, Ferguson, Florida, Tampa, same problems. They've come up with creative solutions that don't always require money because it's easy for government to say, well, we'll spend money to fix it. That doesn't always fix it. You look at the school system that proves it. You put more and more money in it. It's not a money problem. We're spending on par with Montgomery County, but the outcomes are different. Why is that? So someone who says, you can break up this club. Stop running Prince George's County like somebody's club because it's not. And so as a new candidate, I'm saying I have the luxury of just being able to tell the truth.
And that's what we need is the truth. And so we're going to go for another break, our last one.
All right.
And when we come back, we're going to wrap it up, and you can give us your motto for your campaign, and we will go from there. So thank you again for coming to the Mildred Muhammad Show, and we'll be right back on the other side. A little bit more about
When's the
Mr.
last time
Monteiro.
someone said
you.
thanks for checking over your shoulder before changing lanes? Or gave you a pat on the back for sticking to the speed limit? Or a thumbs up for not tailgating? Probably never. Which is too bad, considering safe drivers make the roads safer for everyone. That's why Allstate appreciates safe drivers like no one else. And they show it by saving you 45% or more, along with giving you safe driving bonus checks, deductible rewards, and extra discounts with the DriveWise app. So the next time you come to a complete stop at an intersection, ask yourself, why haven't I switched to Allstate?
The Brandeo Insurance Group, your local DMV Allstate agent, can help you save 45% or more for driving safely. Call him at 410-424-0844 and get a quote today.
It pays to drive safely. Call a local Allstate agent today and find out how you can save 45% or more. Switching to Allstate is worth it.
Savings vary, subject to terms, conditions, and availability.
Do you like to travel? Do you like to make money? Well, here's a way you can do both. Vacation travel allows you the luxury of doing just that. If you want access to unpublished fares, reduced rates for travel agents, access to worldwide selection for family, group cruises, and all types of destination travel, then contact www.kingscourt.vacation.com or call 240-393-7962. That's 240-393-7962. You deserve to travel like royalty. See you on your next vacation.
Thank you for returning to the Mildred Muhammad Show. So I have a question that I would like to ask you myself, and this question is, why should the citizens of Prince George's County vote for you?
For a few reasons. One, I'm rooted here. 36 of my 37 years, a product of the Prince George's County Public School. I love this place. On top of that, my lived experience of knowing very personally what it's like to be on free lunch, what it's like to be, in a position of struggle, having to overcome a lot of things to be the first in my family to graduate high school. I was blessed to grow up in a place like this, and blessed to see the rest of the country. Again, working for President Obama, seeing at the White House, working with county executives and senators and governors, and seeing what other communities are doing, and as I mentioned, AmeriCorps and the Justice Department. And even now, being the chief of staff at Howard University in Washington, seeing the preeminent historically black university, serving the next generation of leaders. Through lived experience and professional experience, I bring that energy, passion, and experience to a county that's given me everything. And in a year where it's not a normal year, because I'm never going to knock the other people running in this race. There's too much of that already. Mm-hmm. And I don't think we're offering the same thing at all. If you want somebody that's been in county government, their argument as to why you should vote for them is they've been around county government so long. There's plenty of people with that county government experience that you can pick from. I have no county government experience. But when I look at examples of like the county council, when they came up with a blue ribbon report of what it's going to take to fix the school system, before they got into any specific things to make the schools higher performing, and I'll read a quote of what, this is the county council saying this.
Okay.
They said, before discussing the commission's 3 recommendations, it is necessary to discuss the primary obstacle to their successful implementation, public distrust of government. The commission understands there is a general sense of skepticism, cynicism, and even distrust in the county population towards the actions of the government that could hinder the implementation of any long-term resolution. Mm-hmm. And you see it in terms of how few people vote. They're not voting because they didn't see enough signs. They saw the signs.
Right.
They don't trust people. And there's a lot of reasons we've been in the news as a county for people in leadership positions acting without integrity.
So what's your motto?
My motto is, our tomorrow is today. Because a lot of people pat me on the head and say, oh, young man, you got time, you got, plenty you can run again. I'm like, does the county have another 4 years?
No.
With a structural deficit, with Trump on the immigration, again, with the real challenges coming in, the hammer of law enforcement on the war on drugs, does the county have another 4 years to do the same thing we've been doing? If you think we do, probably vote for somebody else. I'm very much talking to the 4 out of 5 registered Democrats out there who vote in presidential elections. They skip these. And I think it's because I don't trust anything related to county government.
But local voting is what changes things in the county. So
Absolutely.
if you don't vote locally, then you're not voting for
And that's
the
a challenge. A lot of
changes.
people, I don't think, recognize what county executive does. County executive picks the head of the police department, head of the school system currently, head of permitting, inspections, enforcement, health department, mental health, veteran services, environmental issues, waste, garbage and trash issues. There's so many day-to-day. I'm not saying Trump doesn't matter. I'm just saying, the county executive actually, on your day-to-day experience, has more to do with your day-to-day than Donald Trump does. And that's why we have to connect the dots and say, again, how are the services going for you? Are you getting what you pay for? Are you satisfied with the level of excellence in the public schools? Are you satisfied with the level of customer service with the police department? Are you satisfied with every time you reach out to county government, you're getting a call back or an email in a timely manner? If you think everything's great, okay, God bless you. But, I think there are a lot of us that know this open secret of it's not all right. Some people are doing real well, but how have over 10% of our population in poverty. We can call it inside the Beltway. We can call it Ward 9, but those are our neighbors too. And you write off people at your peril. These are our neighbors. And my Justice Department experience showed me, because we were dropping into places like Baltimore after Freddie Gray. People wrote off that part of Baltimore way before Freddie Gray. And so some people were surprised. Anyone who knows that part of Baltimore, we told them implicitly how much we cared about them.
Right.
Way before Freddie Gray got in that paddy wagon, right?
Yes, sir.
And I see a similar dynamic in the richest black county in America. But you drive through some parts of this place, and we just want to talk about National Harbor. Okay. And I'm like, okay, National Harbor's great. I like eating there. But what about our neighbors in Fairmont Heights or District Heights or Marlow Heights or Suitland or these other places where it's concentrated poverty? And you look at the quality of the school there, you look at the outcomes for those students. Right. We need to wake up. So that's why we say our motto is our tomorrow is today. We cannot kick the can down the road anymore. And I'm not going to wait, another 4 years. I don't think the county has 4 more years to wait. We're really at that point of, are we going to go forward together, or are we going to go forward and say, I got mine. Good luck to the rest of y'all. We have to go forward together.
Well, thank you, Paul.
Thank you so much. It's an honor to be on your show.
To talk to the audience about who you are, what was your motivation for getting into the race, and telling us about your motto. So before we leave, which is in about a minute, I'd like to leave you with these words of encouragement, which is to release your faith, knowing with assurance that all circumstances will work in your favor today. And that is what we're asking of Paul. He is saying that vote for him, and he will make sure that you will gain the trust that you have lost in local government. So with that, thank you for viewing the Mildred Muhammad Show, and thank you for allowing Paul to come into your sphere to share with you who he is and what he represents. See you next Wednesday. Have a great rest of the day.
Thank you so much.
I will never tell anybody to leave, but I will tell you to plan, because in your planning, you will know when to leave. You will have everything